ripping and roasting. Yeah, that's what we do. Set 'em up, knock 'em down, make that cherry glow. Whiskey and cigars, the gentleman's cologne.
Cheers, y'all.
That sounds like a party just about to kick off, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. We're up to show number 380. That means we've done, as of this show, 380 shows.
We've just passed the halfway point to 400.
Okay.
However, if you use, the way you round things down, since we're just past the halfway point, we still call it halfway.
Okay, so halfway to 400. Got it. On today's show, 9 outstanding cigars and 9 cocktails you should memorize so that you can make them, anytime you have the ingredients.
It's like going back to school today.
Yeah, 9 fairly simple cocktails. Obviously, if they were too complicated. If these were like a Chris Morris cocktail,
or would just be 9 steps per cocktail.
Right, exactly. You'd have a lot to memorize. Yeah, even Roberto, his stuff is pretty complicated too.
Well, those, that level of craft cocktail making is on another level.
Yes, it is.
Me, I pour whiskey into a glass and I call it a cocktail when I put in a piece of ice.
Right. That's because that's a 2-ingredient cocktail.
Yes, you got 2 ingredients.
Absolutely.
Or what does Roberto call them? He calls them water croutons.
I like that. Water croutons. Fabulous. I love it. Well, welcome to show number 380. My name is Cruz. Ian Barry is my erstwhile co-host. On the Wheels of Steel, producing in the studio here is Terry Michaels. And then we have Adam in the Sky, who puts it all together so that we can come to you every week with a show that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And by the way, huge thanks to our special guests from last week's show.
Did we have fun or what?
Blake Niederhofer and Trevor Brown from the amazing Lone Pint Brewery. And if you want to go back and watch the episode and just witness me just completely geeking out, because that I love that brewery. They're just, and it was my first time on site at their brewery, because we did the show on site there, and it was just so much fun, and everything they make is so good.
So good.
They've seriously got to be in a contender for for brewery
one of the best
year.
breweries. Yeah, they're just so amazing.
Yeah, and I know that it was a recent list. I don't remember if it was one we shared or one that we just are going to share at some point. But basically the list was the best IPA from every state, and Yellow Rose was what they picked for Texas on this list.
Deservedly, 100%.
Yeah,
and so good.
Fabulous. And that, of course, from the amazing Lone Pint Brewery. So if you're in the vicinity of Magnolia, Texas, first of all, why? But maybe the reason would be because you're there to go to Lone Pint Brewery, and it's totally worth it.
Yeah,
totally worth it.
Really is.
Tomorrow, by the way, is the last day of American Craft Beer Week. And now, not tomorrow from the day we're recording the show, but tomorrow from the day that the show is first made available, which is on Saturday of this week. And Saturday will be the last day. Or, I'm sorry, Sunday will be the last day of American Craft Beer Week. So celebrate by supporting your favorite craft brewery.
Yes.
That's an
buy
absolute,
growlers,
an absolute
buy all
must.
kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Buy whatever you can buy. Coming up on today's show, we'll do some tasting, as we are wont to do, from Chico, California, and a brewery we're all very familiar with, Sierra Nevada.
Yeah.
Yeah, they make one of the best pale ales in the world. We'll be tasting their Summerfest. It's a summer lager that they release seasonally, and I don't think we've had it before. So
I haven't had Summerfest from them.
Either we have missed it previous years, or this could be its first year, but I'm not sure on that. We'll try to find out. From Dallas, Texas, and the brewery Celestial Beerworks, we'll be trying their Andromeda Double Hazy IPA, which has 0 IBUs.
How do you have an IPA with 0 IBUs?
I don't know. We're going to try it and see if it works at all.
How's it
I have
an
not
IPA
tasted
with 0 IBUs? I don't even understand this.
Because IBUs stands
down
for...
is up and up is down. I don't even know. Life makes no sense anymore.
So IPAs generally, IBU stands for International
Bittering Units,
bittering units, and so IPAs are generally fairly high in that,
50
right?
to 70 is pretty
Is a
average
normal
for
this one
for an IPA.
and it says it right on the can. We'll show it to you when we get there. It says 0 IBU. So I'm guessing it's a hazy. I'm guessing this is going to be a bit on the sweet side.
Yeah, so
It
just
won't have
a
any
little
bitter
bit.
to-
I'm looking at an article here that I just pulled up. So IPAs are generally 50 to 70. Stouts are usually 50 to 80-ish. Pale ales are usually 30 to 50 IBUs. Just so you have an idea, like the bitterness that you taste on a beer. And then like a Pilsner has like 20 to 40 IBUs.
Right.
So this
says 0.
that's
I mean,
so
they even
strange because
advertise it
IPAs
that
are one
way.
of the highest.
Right. They even advertise it that way on the can. So
Right.
it'll be interesting to taste that one. I'm looking forward to that. And then from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and Incendiary Brewing Company, we'll be tasting their barrel-aged stout, and I love the name. It's called Our Darkest Days.
Our darkest days. That
Darkest
sounds
days.
fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a pretty dark day outside here in Houston.
So the day that we are recording here, it is thunderstorms and potential hail and stuff. So I'm guessing in our semi-soundproof studio that we have here, you may hear from Mother Nature at some point with a big clap of thunder.
Mother Nature can make her presence known pretty well.
Again, that's real sound effects, not recording.
Yes, that's right.
recorded
That's right.
sound
Spare no
effects,
expense on the sound effects.
Assuming that it happened. So, and then we'll try some rum today. It's Rhum Depaz. It's a 7-year-old single traditional column rum, and it comes from Martinique. I don't believe we've tried a rum from Martinique. So
I don't think so either, but look at the color on it. It's got a reddish.
it's got a real
reddish
deep
kind of
reddish
hue to it that's
sort of
really,
hue,
really pretty.
Yeah, so we'll be looking forward to trying that as well on the program. We mentioned 9 amazing cigars, or 9 outstanding cigars. That is a new list from Cigar Aficionado that we'll be walking through. And to quote the title specifically, it's 9 outstanding cigars you should be smoking right now.
Is that like all at once right now?
Yeah, all at once right now. And then we'll also be looking into this another very interesting list that I found for 9 cocktails you should memorize. And these are all, easy to do. We'll be getting to all of that on the show. We'll tell you about some cigars to watch for, and we will also tell you about country star Luke Bryan, who's opening up a new cigar lounge in Alabama.
Ooh.
So pretty
Good old Bammy.
Pretty cool. Yeah, good old Bammy. So a lot to talk about today. And as we like to do in our first segment here, I have already poured today's beverage of mystery. So this is
The beverage of mystery.
Boy, that guy's got a great voice, doesn't he? Amazing. How much are we paying him? So today's beverage of mystery has already been poured. I brought this in, so I am the only one who knows what this is until the big reveal.
All right, so I am just eyeballing this,
Yeah.
and this is either a carbonated fruit cocktail or a very hazy IPA.
I'd like to just state this before we even taste, that today's beverage of mystery is designed to shoot down a statement that you've made several times on this show.
Oh,
A
it's one of
statement
those
you've made several
beverage of
times on this
mystery.
show.
I've made.
That you've made. A statement that you've made several times on this show will die today in this segment of Smoking and
Really?
Toasting. Yes.
All right.
All right.
I don't
so
know what statement it was I made.
I'll tell you when we get there.
I'm going with your number
wasn't the
2 guess.
It wasn't the thing about the underwear, was it?
No, it wasn't that. No, not at all. That one wasn't it. So
Okay,
all right,
so this is definitely an IPA.
I'm going with the
Yeah.
hazy IPA.
on the nose.
just
it's
going
on
with
the
that. This is definitely an
it's
IPA.
definitely there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So feel free to go ahead and
a
taste
statement that I've made.
more than once.
Can you taste the statement yet?
It's fruity. It's bitter.
Yep, it's got some IBUs.
It's a lingering bitter. There's definitely an IBU in it.
So it drinks on the front like an East Coast IPA, but on the finish it's more like a West Coast. It's got that.
It's
you know,
really-
more lingering hop bitter.
I wonder what I'm going to get caught in here.
Well, I'll give you one clue.
The mouth feels a little thin on this, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
I'll give you one clue. It is neither an East Coast or a West Coast brewery. It's about right in the smack dab middle. But, looking just at east to west.
Good old Oklahoma.
A little further south.
Oh, is this Texas?
Yes. On this program, on previous editions, we have sung the praises of some of the wonderful German style and dark style beers made by a brewery in the greater Houston area called Klaus Brewing.
They broke down and made an IPA?
And Ian has said repeatedly, they don't even make an IPA. That's why I love them. I introduce you to Polar Opposites. Klaus Brewing from right here in our hometown of Houston now makes an IPA, and there it is.
You crumbled, you sold it.
Yeah. So I actually really like this. It's very different from a lot of hazies and juicies in that it and this is the first time I've tasted it, but I definitely pick up, and it's interesting because it
is a pretty solid beer. But
Polar Opposites, and it really is
their
East
whole
and
thing
West.
was German styles brewed with I can't remember their catchphrase, but they didn't have an IPA.
Yeah.
For a long time, they had only German styles.
Right, absolutely. And this is, well, they still have the hop figures on the front. Still look like they're kind of dressed German style.
Barley wearing a lederhosen.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. But yeah, this to me is really East meets West.
You broke down and you did it.
It is the beer. It's the beer equivalent.
This is the Third Coast IPA.
Yeah, it's the beer equivalent of like Hip Hop Heaven, where apparently Tupac and Biggie are doing songs together. That's what it's kind of like.
It's got kind of a light mouthfeel. The flavor
they're
overall
drinking
is
that.
pretty nice.
Yeah.
I like the hops and the barley are very, very happy together.
Yes, they definitely
so
are.
happy together.
Yeah, so now you have to lay that line to rest.
I never get to say it again. Hops,
right.
Citra Cryo, Nelson Sauvin, Raku Keef. I have no idea what that is in Idaho 7. So I've never heard of the first and the third one. I've heard of the Idaho 7 and the Nelson Sauvin.
Never heard of, what is it, Rocco Keef?
Rakau, R-A-K-A-U, Rakau.
Rocco Keef, that sounds like a character in a
it sounds like a rock
Stallone movie or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rocco Keef. But yeah, I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good.
It is pretty good. I'm a little sad.
A tradition dies.
They broke down.
I saw this on the shelf at Phoenicia downstairs in my building, and I was like, I'm so excited. I'm going to get to kill that little supposition dead.
Yeah.
We still really need to do a show with
you
those
broke
guys.
my heart, Klaus.
Yeah, but they still make all the great German inspired beers.
I
that
trusted
you.
I trusted you.
I guess it tells you something about the popularity of IPAs, because I would bet that the genesis behind this beer is people who are visiting the brewery there with their friends and going up and say, "Do you have an IPA?"
Yeah, you know it is.
Yeah.
You know it is.
Yeah.
So. And you know that they put that off for a long time.
Yeah, and I would ask it if I was there. Did you guys have an IPA in the? And so maybe they brewed one, put it in for just.
I would
brewery
tell all the bar staff there, if someone asked that, to say 9.
Oh, it's $9. I'll take one. Perfect. Anyway, I think it's actually pretty good.
It is pretty good.
Yeah.
The cartoonish art on this is pretty.
The hop
awesome.
and the barley. Yeah. It is. Pretty
They're like
cool,
doing like a Wonder Twin Powers kind of.
Yeah, I like that.
Kind of hand clap there.
Activate. Klaus Brewing, activate. All right, we got to.
You're still breaking my heart, Klaus.
Yeah.
This one's going to be a little while to get over. This one's rough.
So we got to take a break. When we return, Ian will tell us about the cigar that he enjoyed this week, or maybe didn't enjoy. We don't know yet. He'll tell us about a cigar experience from this week, and I will fill you in on one from mine as well. This is Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and we will be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show's about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And during the break, we were talking about how on The Simpsons, when the character Barney burps, that his lips kind of flutter. It's like, who decided, in the writer's room, hey, when he burps, we'll make his mouth go.
You have to give it some motion.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. I don't know why it's so funny.
Nobody's mouth actually does that when they burp, but you still understand what they're trying to convey at that moment in time.
It's the Bugs Bunny equivalent to walking off the ledge and not knowing it until you look down.
Until you look down, yes, exactly. Boy, the coyote, that was a regular thing for him.
That's right.
It was a regular thing for him.
Laws of gravity.
So we recently had Trey Boring, our our Smoking and Toasting legal expert on the show, and he, pointed out that we have had some gains. We've made some good progress in many of the laws that people keep trying to pass to restrict people's ability to smoke cigars. However, there's a creeping menace that is infecting the rights of cigar smokers, and it is originating in a town I used to live in Brookline, Massachusetts, which is a Boston suburb. When I first moved to Boston a number of years ago, that was the first place that I lived, was in Brookline. And on March the 8th, the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court upheld a bylaw adopted by the Boston area town of Brookline that banned the sale of tobacco products to anyone born in the 21st century. And in the following weeks, several nearby townships have swiftly approved or are considering nearly identical legislation that would bar much of the local population born in this century forever legally purchasing tobacco products, which includes handmade cigars. More neighboring communities are expected to follow suit in the coming weeks.
Outrageous.
The movement began in 2020 with Brookline, and it was unprecedented at the time, but now it's precedented, and they're passing it like crazy in a lot of these surrounding towns. And I'm going to predict you will see this spread all over the United States, and I don't know what we can do about it.
It's a federal law that you can't buy tobacco products until you're 21.
Right.
So this is city by city.
Right. But just you can't buy them at all. And I don't know if you live in Brookline, Massachusetts, and you order online from, Holtz or Cigar Page or somebody, I don't know if you're violating a law by placing that order. And I don't know whether Holtz, let's say in this case, or Cigars International, wherever you order from.
That is putting a very severe stranglehold on freedom right there.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
Is that just it's just a small city? It's just a city. It's within the city.
Brookline is essentially part of Boston. You have no idea that you're in a different, municipality. But it is, it's like Katy, except it's surrounded by Boston.
So now you're going to have to go over there for your cigars.
Right.
But I mean, people are just going to go over there
until the
for
city
it,
of Boston passes it. I mean, when I lived in Brookline, I drove maybe 3 minutes or took the train to the place where I most normally bought cigars. It was right in the right in the Back Bay area. So it's not far from where it's illegal to purchase cigars if you were born in this century.
In Texas here, TABC had we have dry counties, right?
Yeah, right.
And you can simply, if you live in a
Go
county
to a
that's
different
dry,
county
you
and
simply
buy.
go to the county line, because on every county line there's going to be 30 liquor stores.
I grew up in a dry county, and
That's
as
how
soon as
know
you see
you're
the
at the
county
county
line marker, there's a bar.
Exactly.
That's how you know you're at the county line. That's
Exactly.
I grew up in Liberty. Liberty was dry forever. They've changed that now, but it was dry forever, and that's the way it was. In any direction you go, as soon as you hit county line, bang, liquor store. And sometimes it's way out in the middle of the country.
Yeah,
and it's on a road to nowhere kind of thing.
Nobody ever drives past here except to drive across the county
there'll be
line
a little
to buy
shack
beer.
that sells liquor, and that's outrageous. So I'm assuming though, they're banning it from buying it in that area. They can't ban you
as a resident,
as a person, from buying that.
I don't think they can ban you as a person from buying it where it is legal. What I don't know is if it would be legal, if you live in Brookline, Massachusetts, to buy it online and have it delivered to you. I don't know the answer to that question. And if it's not,
I would go every day to the city building and smoke a cigar, right out front,
until they lock you up.
I guess
actually, technically, they could only lock you up for purchasing.
That's right. That's right. That's not smoking. Right?
Well, now, and this is just for people
that's a whole nother law.
This is just for people that were born in this particular century. So, in other words, you would assume that they could still deliver. You could still buy it and deliver it if you were of age. So deliveries wouldn't stop. It would just be whether or not you checked that you were over 21 or not, or born.
Us, right? Yeah. Okay. So the next question is: are they still selling tobacco in that township or
Well, it's
city
technically
of-
not illegal to sell it. It would be technically illegal to sell it to persons born
So
in this century.
They're just getting rid of future customers.
Basically. And it will lead, I think, to a sort of a new version of that thing that, once you turn 21 and you pull up to the 7-Eleven and there's an underage kid outside going, hey, man, can you buy me some beer?
Yeah.
It'll be like a 78-year-old guy hanging out outside the tobacco shop. And
Dude, that-
a
Somebody's-
24-year-old will say, "Hey man, can you buy me a cigar?"
Somebody's going to fight this.
Yeah, I hope so.
So this,
I hope so.
this is so when Trey Boring was on the show, I kicked myself in the butt. And I was like, right now, and in one of the breaks, I actually signed up for Cigar Rights of America. Mm-hmm. Did it right then and there, so I wouldn't forget about it because I always do. Like it's one of those things that like I know I should be part of this. This is what I do here. Mm-hmm. And I should do it, and I signed up for it right then and there, and I'm so glad because they're the people that watch out for this kind of stuff.
And they're the guys that will be fighting this.
That's outrageous.
To the degree that it can be fought. So,
like I'm outraged for 24-year-olds that can't go enjoy a cigar.
Yeah,
if they want to enjoy a cigar because they're freaking adults, man.
Right.
This is gonna make me want to cuss. They're adults. They get to do whatever they want to do.
I want to do a T-shirt that just says, I just want to cuss.
Don't make me angry.
Yeah,
You wouldn't like me.
I won't like you when you're angry. So what else is new?
Actually, y'all just laugh because I say crazy stuff. But you get the idea.
Yeah.
Like I am outraged for those people. That is
And-
unbelievable.
And I guarantee you that the success of these, to the degree that they're successful, I mean, the fact that they've gotten them passed and instituted, it's going to inspire the smoking police all over the country.
I'm going to make a prediction. That's going to happen. More places are going to pass this, and then someone's going to have to come in and put the big smackdown on what kind of freedoms you are restricting people from having.
It's just like you always say about California.
But that being said, does that mean if you're a citizen and you're born in the 20th century, you're 24 years old, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you want to order cigars, is it illegal for you to do that?
That I don't know. I'm guessing no, or I'm guessing it might technically be, but there's no way for them to really police that.
Yeah.
Unless, they start, looking at your online history or something. Oh, he visited cigarsinternational.com.
I mean,
I hope they have something better to watch out over than that. They've got some real crime.
I was just reading the articles.
people fought for our freedoms, and you give them away.
Yeah.
You just give them away. You go, okay, I'll just roll over and take it.
You
know,
in the way that society should be is you should have all the liberty you want until it has to be restricted in some way. And I understand. I can understand, even though I don't necessarily agree with this, but I can understand why you might want to restrict my ability to smoke a cigar in a bar where people are there that do not want the cigar smoke. I at least get where you're coming from.
that's why there's cigar bars.
Right. I get where you're coming from, but why can I not legally purchase something I am of age to purchase if I have been born in this century? It makes no sense to me. Makes no sense. Okay.
Unbelievable.
So we ranted about that for an entire segment. When we come back, we will talk cigars, including what Ian and I have both smoked, and we will do our first tasting, Sierra Nevada's Summerfest Summer Lager, next on Smoking and Toasting.
Perfect timing.
That just blends with that musical intro so well.
I was going for the timing on
It's
it.
The Suffers with Ian Barry on beer can percussion. It's special Ian Barry beer can percussion remix. Our program,
that band is so good.
Our program is Smoking and Toasting. This is show number 380, and Ian is pouring. He's going to tell us about his cigar experience this week. But before he does, he's pouring the Sierra Nevada Summerfest. It is a summer lager. Sierra Nevada makes a number of amazing beers. Their pale ale, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, is legendary.
Oh, yeah.
Around the world, and then they do the hazy little thing or the
That's an
juicy
amazing
little
little
thing.
IPA.
They do a line of them now. I think hazy and juicy are permanent in the line, and they have. I've been buying one that's a limited release called Cosmic Little Thing, and it's just another IPA, and it's wonderful and fantastic. So
Love that.
This, however, is a lager, and so we'll see how this one works. A Summerfest summer lager. While we sip, Ian will tell us about
So this
what
week,
he had a chance to smoke.
I saw the Romeo y Julieta Reserva Real Nicaragua Midnight Twist.
Ooh.
That's a lot of name.
Well, now I'm familiar with everything you just said there except for Midnight Twist.
Okay, so this is the Nicaragua line of the Reserva Real, which, by the way, the Romeo y Julieta Reserva Real is a fantastic cigar.
Yes, it is.
Like, no matter what. Their
And
whole
the Nicaragua line is even better.
And the Nicaragua line, if you want, like, so the Reserva Real is great on the lighter side of cigars. If you want something similar to that, but with a beefier output, a bigger flavor profile overall, the Nicaragua is great. This is the Midnight Twist. This has a barbershop pole to it, and
I
it's
think we talked about this cigar.
what's that?
I think we talked about this in Cigars to Watch For.
Right. So it's a Nicaraguan puro, but it's a Nicaraguan Habana and a Maduro wrapper barber pole style, and
Nice.
it's beautiful. The one that I had is the Mini Perfecto. This is 46 by 4.5, and the Mini Perfecto is just a beautiful little cigar. It's called the Twisted Love Story, is what they call that particular size.
Nice.
It's a beautiful barbershop pole, Mini Perfecto, single band on it that has all the information. The pre-light sniff, earthy and nutty, peppery and slightly sweet. The pre-light draw on this, I used a V-cut, had a medium draw on it, sweet, nutty, dark fruit, and earth. The initial light on this Nicaraguan pepper blast.
Wow.
And this is a Perfecto, so it has that tiny little point that you light at the end, little foot. And then it opens up into this big, beautiful.
So you get the blast when it's all
Yeah,
concentrated.
it's
there,
super concentrated Nicaraguan pepper blast, and then it opens up with a healthy dose of earth and sweet, dark fruit going on. The first third of the cigar, pepper settles into a spicy foundation for earth, coffee, and toast sitting around on top of it. Notes of toffee and dark fruit weave in and out. The retrohale is peppery and sweet, solid ash, perfect burn.
Nice.
Second third of this cigar, sweeter and toasty-er. I just put toasty-er because I don't know how to spell toastier. Dark fruit and cedar move forward. Toasty and nutty flavors blend with pepper and fill out the palate. Retrohale is peppery and sweet cedar. Solid ash, perfect burn.
Nice.
The last third of the cigar, tangy leather and sweet fruit undertones are added to the mix. All the other things are still coming in. It's very complex. There's so many things going on in a cigar. The retrohale is sweet cedar and pepper. Solid ash, perfect burn. This cigar comes in for a Mini Perfecto. This is an expensive cigar. It's almost $10, $9.92.
And it's small.
It's 4 inches. Right? It's a small cigar. It's a 7 on my price to quality scale.
Whoa.
It is outrageously good.
It's that good.
I will buy these by the handful.
And how much is it again?
It's almost $10, $9.92 for a Mini Perfecto.
Nice. I love
Now,
it.
to put it in perspective, the Hemingway short story by Arturo Fuente is also a Mini Perfecto. It comes in about $6 or $7, so it's not that much more, but it's still a small cigar.
Still a little more, yeah.
And this is just outrageously good. Buy one. They have other sizes in this as well that you might feel are more cost effective, but none of them are as pretty as a Mini Perfecto.
So very good. I'll tell you
So
about my
you're
cigar in a
already
moment. But
refilling.
I'm already refilling
I
the
haven't even
Sierra
tried
Nevada
mine yet.
Summerfest Refreshing Summer Lager.
There's not a lot going on the nose.
No.
It has a very classic beer
Right.
nose
It
to
smells like beer. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a lot going on in the flavor.
It kind of tastes like beer, but in I think a really good and refreshing way.
This
It's got
literally
more-
tastes like summer.
It's got more bitterness to it than I was expecting, but it is very quaffable.
It does, but I kind of like it. Wonder what the IBUs on this are. It doesn't say.
Yeah.
However, this is outrageously good. Coming in at 5%. Contains malted barley. Well, I would assume
What gives
so.
it that flavor? What gives it that extra flavor right in the middle?
The little,
the little
I think it's the barley.
zing?
Is that
I
yeah?
think
The
it's
little
the barley
zing.
you're
Is that
getting.
it?
That's what. If you're talking about the middle,
Well, malted barley is going to give you that round cereal. There's a little cereal kind of thing
Yes.
going on.
Yeah.
It's quite good. I was expecting a little more like pretzel-y kind of thing, but it's more like bread. It's more like warm, fresh bread, cereal, and
yeah.
Yeah.
and then it finishes with almost an IPA snap. Not quite. And it's quite bitter on the end of the profile. It's just good, though.
Yes.
Fantastic.
It reminds me of what you might get if you go into a brewery that you're not that familiar with, and you order just their Pilsner or their lager. It has that right here in the brewery, out of the tank, sort of Pilsner taste to it.
This is really fun.
I'm enjoying it.
I will buy more.
Yeah, Summerfest.
very good.
It's out there now.
Refreshing summer lager.
I just bought that this week, so you will find
and it's
it.
a pretty can. Well, they always have that beautiful Sierra Nevada, the scene on the river there, but they've surrounded that with a beautiful blue, says Summerfest on there.
Out of Chico, California.
Taking the last
There you
little
go.
bits of that.
All right. Well, I want to tell you about my cigar for this week. I recently ordered a sampler online from Cigar Page, and included in it was a Pin Standard Broadleaf Toro. And I thought, well, you know what? I haven't had one of these before. I'll smoke it and talk about it on the show.
Many of those.
Oh, okay. It'd be interesting to see if we come to a similar conclusion.
I don't think I reviewed one.
Penn Standard, the brand, features an outline of the Keystone State logo from Pennsylvania, and it's using a wrapper leaf that's grown in Pennsylvania. It's called Pennsylvania Broadleaf, and it's not that common in cigars, especially as a wrapper. The Penn Standard Toro does use it as a wrapper, an 8-year-aged broadleaf grown in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and they use it to cover a Nicaraguan Habano binder and then filler from Nicaragua and Honduras. It's a pretty cigar, although most of the print on the band is way too small for me to read, even with my reading glasses on. But I get the drift. It's dark brown. It's slightly box pressed with a nice oily wrapper.
Professional hack. Take a picture of it and then expand
enlarge
your
it.
picture.
Yeah. I did take pictures actually here for the review, so you can do. But it was. It was not important because it wasn't about the construction of the cigar. It was something they were doing to sort of build the vibe of the brand. So it was dark brown and slightly box pressed with a nice oily wrapper, which,
Those things sound good.
Yeah. All good so far. Pre-light sniff, barnyard with a musty sweetness. The cold draw added a little bit of chocolate and earth and a slight minerality. I used a punch on the end of the cigar and fired up the Penn Standard. And lo and behold, I was greeted by my good old friend, the Nicaraguan Pepper Blast.
Nicaraguan Pepper Blast.
By the way, I think I figured out the perfect way to annoy Ian into writing some kind of Nicaraguan Pepper Blast song.
Don't listen, honey.
It'll be something like maybe until he does it, I'll just do my own.
I'm telling my ukulele to cover her sound holes. She shouldn't witness this.
I found a great song to put it to the tune of. The most annoying song on the planet. The Small World song from Disneyland.
Oh, no. You obviously...
So it would be like...
You obviously have never heard Baby Shark.
Nicaraguan Pepper Blast. Nicaraguan Pepper Blast. So you think...
Wow, that's perfect.
You
You can pick it up like that, too.
You think Ian will come up with You think Ian will come up with a new song soon?
If when you go through the ride, you just keep hearing it. So the more he hears it, the more chances there are.
And now that will be
say you
stuck
have a
in
great
his
job.
brain
Drink
for
beer.
the entire day.
See what I have to put up with?
Yeah.
Right before bed, I'm going to text him Nicaraguan Pepper Blast song.
So
he'll hear
once
that.
the Nicaraguan Pepper Blast settled down,
You're killing me, Smalls.
I got chocolate, coffee, and sweetness in the first third, and definitely pepper on the retrohale, but it was just right, not too overwhelming. The burn seemed a little bit wacky at first, but it straightened itself out, and the ash held on for longer than I expected. The Penn Standard also produced a nice volume of thick, creamy smoke, which was, I just enjoy that when a cigar has, a nice output of smoke. Second, third got earthier with a creamy sweetness and with pepper still on the retrohale as the cigar seemed to really settle in. Nice complexity and no burn issues at all by this point. It could completely straighten itself out without me even having to touch it up. In the last third, I started picking up a woodsy note. It was kind of like hickory and a savory meatiness that was balanced beautifully by this continuing note of creamy sweetness. Which I believe is a noted attribute of broadleaf tobacco. That's got a certain sweetness to it. Even though this was a broadleaf Maduro, the sweetness seemed to be a little different than what I normally perceive as Maduro sweetness. In any event, it was very pleasant and very enjoyable. Overall, quite enjoyable, the whole thing. Almost smack in my sweet spot of medium to full-bodied. And even though I enjoyed it with a salted caramel iced tea, I'd recommend pairing it with a Four Roses single barrel bourbon with 1 ice cube in it, like you were mentioning earlier, and to open it up a little. The Pin Standard Broadleaf was a pleasure to smoke. Nice, complex flavors that evolved as it burned, and with the sense that this was a very carefully blended and rolled cigar. Reminded me a bit of an Enclave by A.J. Fernandez or a Diesel Unholy Cocktail. And the good news, it's a $5 to $6 cigar. I mean, seriously. And that works very much in its favor on the price to quality scale. So price to quality, I gave it a 6.5. Probably should have been a 7.
Oh, hell.
Every bit as good as cigars that are selling for several dollars more.
Yep.
And I believe you can only get this on cigarpage.com.
It's made by Drew Estate.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's made by Drew Estate.
I did not realize that. Mm-hmm. They mentioned on Cigar Page, they mentioned something about Raymond Pages, but I don't know what that means.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's a person or a thing or animal, vegetable or mineral. I have no idea. But anyway, it was a great cigar, and I'm getting more.
Yeah,
for sure,
they're
getting
good.
more.
And they always come like I've gotten a few of those Cigar Page mix packs, and they always come in there, and I'm happy every time.
Yeah.
And I've had them in like 2 or 3 different sizes now, including the Big Churchill.
Yeah, this
And
is
I
the
think
only one I've had.
The
was
Churchill's
store.
probably my favorite out of them.
Wow. Okay, so I'll be checking that out for sure. I like it. So, yeah, and you may even be able to order it from Cigar Page if you live in Brookline, Massachusetts. It's possible. It's possible.
That's
It could happen.
crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Don't get me started again.
Yeah, still burning a little bit over that. I'm going to tell you. I'll start telling you about this. We may have to continue it in the next segment. But I found a fascinating article this week on a website called The Daily Meal. Not to be confused with Daily Mail. And it's thedailymeal.com, an article that the headline is 11 Facts About Costco Whiskey That You Should Know. Have you ever had a Costco whiskey?
I've had the Costco Scotch.
Have you?
I mean, yeah. And,
What was your take?
Well, the 12, and I think it was the 12 and a 14 or a 15, and then an 18 were the ones I tried.
Okay.
And the 12 was not good.
Okay.
Its redeeming qualities were not there.
Okay. They didn't exist.
It tasted like, yeah, it just was not good.
Okay.
The 15 was drinkable, or 15 or 14, I can't remember which one it is. But a buddy of mine bought all 3 and brought them out. It was drinkable. It was, it wasn't complex. It was a little bit of a one-trick pony. It was drinkable is about the best I can say. The 18, I don't know what the price point on any of these were, by the way, but the 18 was at least drinkable, but still not fantastic. Like, if you put it up against anybody else's 18,
Yeah.
it's not going to stand up. If you put it up against most 12s, it's at least in the ballpark. I mean,
Okay.
it may be in the nosebleeds.
Well, we'll get to at least some of the things that they tell you in this article from the Daily Meal, and then you can comment because you've got some experience with this. The first thing they say is Costco Kirkland whiskey. That's the house brand, Kirkland. Comes in a variety of regular expressions. So you not only get, they not only have the Scotch, but they've got like Irish whiskey and bourbon. And as of December 2023, when this article was written, there were 7 individual Kirkland Signature Scotch whiskey expressions on regular offer. Blended Scotch whiskeys are a permanent feature, and then they have whiskeys from different regions of Scotland. So really a very interesting thing. And the second thing they tell you is that Costco sells a lot more alcohol every year than you probably realize.
Oh, I bet.
And
Well, they have a whole liquor store section of
right,
their
and I
store.
don't think you have to have a Costco card to go in and
I
buy
don't
the
think
liquor.
so. Yeah, I don't think
I
so.
think you can have it. I do have one, but next thing on the list, you don't always have to be a member to buy whiskey at Costco. So
you go.
it takes care of that. The fourth thing on the list, Kirkland Canadian whiskey might be made alongside Crown Royal. So we may know where that's
Yeah, so they
coming
get them from somewhere and then slap their Kirkland name on it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
All right, we'll get to the rest of these coming up. Plus, we have more to taste here on our own show, including an IPA with 0 IBUs. We'll get to
confused.
that coming up. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We got through 4 of these 11 things that you should know about Costco whiskey.
About Kirkland whiskey.
About Kirkland whiskey. So let's blow through the rest of these real quick. Number 5, its Scotch is rumored to come from one specific company. Now, they don't name the company, but they do. They say it's widely assumed to be Alexander Murray and Company, a Scottish-born outfit that operates in the United States. But that doesn't tell us where it's distilled, like what Scottish distillery this might come from. That's what I was hoping for, but it doesn't say. The sixth thing on the list is that Kirkland bourbon whiskey is made by the Barton 1792 distillery. So they even have. I haven't tried
any of the other stuff. The only stuff I've tried is the Scotch. So those 3 scotches.
Right. I'm looking at this is one of those things that you almost do a double take, and there's a photo of it on this article. You almost do a double take looking at a bottle of whiskey that says both Kirkland and bottled in bond. You kind of are like, what? But I'm looking at a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey bottled in bond with a Kirkland logo on it. Yeah. Yeah. So they say it's pretty easy to find bourbon in Costco, but no need to spend the big bucks to get it. The store has its own line of Kirkland bourbon with several different expressions under the brand name. Unlike some other Kirkland product producers, however, it's fairly easy to solve the mystery behind what brand supplies Costco's Kirkland bourbon. The retailer decided to put the manufacturer, Barton 1792 Distillery, right on the label. So there's no...
I have to laugh. I pulled up Kirkland whiskey, and the first thing they show is the signature 6-year blended Canadian whiskey that is obviously in a bottle that looks like Crown Royal.
Crown Royal, yeah, and that's what we talked about. It was one of the first 4, was that it looks alongside Crown Royal. You kind of get where that one comes from. They also say, number 7 on the list, Costco Kirkland Irish whiskey might be made in partnership with one distillery. And it's rumored to be made by Irish Distillers Limited, which is a major producer owned by Pernod Ricard. So, very, very, very interesting. Number 8 on this list is you can stock up on Johnny Walker and, if you're lucky, Pappy Van Winkle at Costco. So it's not just about Kirkland whiskey in there. You actually might be able to buy a bottle of Pappy there.
Really?
Yeah, according to what it says. It says it's important to remember that Costco stocks far more alcohol options than just the Kirkland brand. They sell more bottles of Johnny Walker Blue and the Macallan than any other store in the world.
Really?
I don't know. I think it has something to do with the cost. I have a friend, and he will always be like, I'm going to run over to Costco and grab some, and it wasn't the Costco brand. He was always getting name brand stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, because they have just a regular liquor store.
Yeah,
They just happen to have their own brand stuff in there, too.
Yeah.
They also stock, in the bourbon aisle, Bullet, Knob Creek, Basil Hayden's, and Woodford Reserve, among many other choices. They also have Johnny Walker Blue, which we mentioned, and you can grab a bottle of Glenlivet 14. So,
Glenlivet 14 is really good whiskey.
Yep, all of that at Costco. And it says, on occasion, you can find a bottle of ultra-rare Pappy Van Winkle on its shelf at a slightly lower price than what it's sold for elsewhere. So, finally, they say Costco, not finally, but for the next one, they say Costco Kirkland whiskeys are way cheaper than other versions. So if you find a Costco Kirkland whiskey that you like, you're going to be saving, some serious money per bottle on it.
It'd be one of those things where you kind of have to try all of them, I bet, to find, is there one that's actually pretty solid?
Sounds like a challenge. Sounds like a smoking and toasting challenge.
Yeah. That being said, you're probably going to spend less buying those bottles of Kirkland.
Yeah, probably so.
I don't know. It's worth trying.
Yeah.
Costco Kirkland whiskeys are similar to more expensive labels. Okay, that seems like kind of a redundant item for the list. But the last one really got me. Number 11 on this list is Costco sometimes sells limited edition Kirkland whiskeys. and they show some real like collectors looking bottles and stuff, and it looks like really fancy, like a fancy almost like Japanese whiskey looking in a square bottle with a big topper. But right there is that Kirkland logo, the same as on the paper plates that you're buying. You know what I mean? It just, I don't know, it's something kind of one of these things is not like the other. You know, a super expensive
It's a
bottle.
little jarring, right?
Yeah. When I was growing up, there was this store called Western Auto. Do you
I
remember
remember
Western
Western Auto,
Yeah, and you could go in. We had one in my
They had all
little,
kinds of stuff in Western
little town.
Auto.
Yeah, you get all kinds of stuff, but their house brand was I had it on the tip of my tongue. What was their Wizard? Their house brand was Wizard. So you could buy regular Ever-Ready batteries, or you could buy Wizard batteries. Yeah, and my friend always used to say, "Man, I love this Wizard stuff. It's so cheap. I wish they made a Wizard car." And I go, "No, you don't. No, you don't."
Dude, okay, so house brand batteries are always terrible.
Yeah.
They're the worst.
Yeah.
They are.
But you know
absolute
what?
worst.
If you buy them at IKEA, you can get them so cheap that you can change them out, just keep changing them out for a lot less than you would spend on
Battery
on a-
hack for those of you who live in Texas or the southern states here.
All right.
The cheapest batteries I've found, and even if you want to buy them kind of bulk style, the cheapest place I've ever found batteries is Buc-ee's.
No kidding.
It's literally half the price that
you know,
you'll pay.
Buc-ee's is expanding. They're in like the Nashville
It's
area now.
literally half the
Wow.
price that you'll pay at like
Fascinating.
Sam's.
Yeah.
I would have figured they would have gotten more for batteries because they could. You know, you're on your trip and your kid
Yeah,
needs
sure,
that thing.
yeah.
You know, oh yeah, I'll pay the extra for the batteries just
yeah.
to shut them out.
Yeah,
It's okay.
eight 9-volt batteries, $10.
Wow.
We're talking about Duracell Max. We're not talking about like cheap house brand
Wow.
stuff.
Oh, so you're not just
Like
talking about
real
Buc-ee's
batteries.
brand batteries?
No, real deal. Energizer,
Get the brand that
Duracell.
bites.
Like they have the cheapest batteries.
They
I've
must
ever
have
seen.
traded them a whole bunch of beaver nuggets or something. To get that pricing. That's
I love beaver nuggets.
That's really I know they really are good. You know what I love though? Buc-ee's makes a chopped barbecue sandwich.
Oh yes,
This is like the greatest thing
yes,
ever.
It is awesome.
So have you had their
is awesome.
brisket breakfast taco?
I don't think I have.
Yeah, okay.
Wow.
So I like their barbecue sandwich, but their brisket breakfast taco.
Yeah,
Imagine that same barbecue sandwich,
but in a breakfast taco.
but in a
Wow.
breakfast taco.
Love it.
It's pretty darn good.
Wow, I love it. Wow. All right, we still got some tasting
hungry
to
now.
do. I know. How can we steer this away from food because I'm starving. We still have some tasting to do from Celestial Beerworks. It's their Andromeda Double Hazy IPA. It's a 0 IBU beer, and this is
Life is
I think
too
it's the
weird.
first thing from Celestial Beerworks we've actually had on the show, and it is this is a brewery from Dallas, Texas. So we'll also be tasting a barrel-aged stout from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and Incendiary Brewing Company. I believe we've had one of their beers, at least one of their beers on the show before, but it's been a while. It's their barrel-aged stout called Our Darkest Days.
Our Darkest
Looking forward to that.
Days.
And then the Rhum Depaz, 7-year-old single traditional column rum from the fine folks in Martinique. That's where this rum is distilled. And I went ahead and got rid of the box. Well, I'll show you the bottle of rum here. But on the box, they had
Very
all of
pretty.
this. They had all this text, and none of it was in English. I couldn't read any of it. I think it was all in French, and my French is, pardon my French, you have to because it's terrible. Anyway, it was really interesting looking rum. But I'm excited to have you try this. I think you're going to have an interesting reaction to this one. So, just a couple of moments left. In this segment, I will tell you that the world's best bourbon, according to the International Spirits Challenge 2023, the world's best bourbon,
Lay it on me.
Weller 12.
Dude, I've been saying that for a long time.
Yeah.
I've literally been saying, like, if you don't like Weller, you don't like bourbon.
Yeah, the International Spirits Challenge is one of the longest-running competitions in the liquor industry, and they've been handing out medals across all kinds of major categories of adult beverages. And Weller 12 takes the trophy for
Weller
this year.
12 is amazing. Weller Special Reserve is outrageously good.
And how much is a bottle of Weller 12?
Well, Weller 12 is about 50-ish a bottle if you can find it. That's the problem. It's one of those allocated things that you can never find. And so if you see a bottle of it, snap it up.
And then the other one you said is
Weller Special Reserve, that's the green label. So the 12 is the black label. And the green label has become harder to find. A Special Reserve but it's a lot easier to find, and it's also pretty inexpensive. A handle of that is $44.
Okay.
And it's fantastic whiskey, like 100%. Like, don't go out and buy this stuff because I want to be able to find it in my liquor store.
Exactly. Didn't you bring a Weller on the show recently?
Yeah,
Yeah. I remember it was fantastic.
it was probably the Weller 12.
Probably was
Yeah,
the
I
12.
think it was.
That's what I remember. Well, that is what they're saying is the number one
It's
bourbon.
fantastic whiskey.
Yeah.
There's so much good whiskey out there, and let's just drop the allocated stuff, and let's like not even talk about that.
Drop the allocated, drop the Kirkland. There's good stuff in between.
That's right. There's so much good whiskey out there, man. Chris Hart turned us on to it's $32 for George Dickel bourbon. It's outrageously good. It's Buffalo Trace is $26, I think.
Right,
For
right.
we're talking about 750s here. Is $26-ish or $28. There's
Not to ask you the price of a gift, but you bought me a bottle of Eagle Rare that was so fantastic.
so
How
Eagle
much was
Rare
that?
is hard to find. That's
Right.
the thing. It's not that expensive.
Right. I
It's
didn't think it was.
It's
like
$40 for a bottle.
Okay. You just have to find
You just
one.
can't find it. Now,
Yeah.
I don't play secondary. I just 100% refuse.
Yeah.
I don't buy. I don't sell on
I don't blame
secondary. I just don't. And on secondary, that bottle costs $100 to $150. But when you buy it actually at retail price, it's $40, 39 something.
Love that. That was such a wonderful bottle.
It's fantastic. Weller 12 is the same way. Weller 12 is $50-ish.
If you can find it.
Except for on secondary,
Yeah.
then it's going to be $150 to $200. Blanton's
Same thing.
$79
Blanton's is
here
wonderful, but yeah.
on retail, and if you can find it, it's worth it. Otherwise, $200. On secondary, which I just don't play secondary.
All right, we're going to take a break, but you're 100% right. Weller 12, congratulations. And Eagle Rare, if you see one, tell me about it. We got to take a break, and we will be right back. This is Smoking and Toasting. I love that sound. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Ian is pouring the Andromeda IPA. It's a hazy IPA that reportedly, and it says so right on the can there, has 0 IBUs. So that's kind of unheard
I'm
of.
confused by life, actually, right now, whenever you say that.
While you're passing that out, I want to get started on a list here from Food and Wine. This is 9 cocktail recipes everyone should memorize. So actually, we'll get to that. Let's taste the beer first, because I'm really curious about this beer.
I mean, it smells like IPA. It smells a little light, though.
Yes, it does have a little bit, like, I'm expecting a thinner mouthfeel.
It has a little bit of a bitter smell, which is weird, too, because, like it says, 0 IBUs. I'm so confused by this.
All right, I got to taste this.
It's Bizarro IPA. Down is up, up is down.
I got to say, it tastes just like a regular IPA. Maybe a little bit thin in the mouthfeel, but it tastes like a regular hazy.
The aftertaste is sweet.
Yeah. You don't get any bitter on the aftertaste, so it's sweet. There is a little bitter up front. I don't know what that would be from, but
Not the IBUs.
yeah, right. Just because it's got a little bitter up front, but on the tongue, the finish that
The
it leaves
aftertaste-
you with is very sweet.
Okay.
The aftertaste is weird. Okay, there's still a little bit of astringency and a little bit of pine cone there going on. And it's not a bad thing. It just is. A 0 IBU double hazy in a pale with Vic Secret Mosaic hops.
Well, I can tell you what that funky that you're tasting. That's Vic Secret.
It's
Because I've had a number of
Yeah.
IPAs with Vic Secret, and they always have that little bit of. You almost want to describe it as a bitter, but it's not, and it's just part of that hop. It's a very you would know it if you were just smelling a handful of those hops. You would get that.
The brave Perseus saved his love Andromeda from the sea creature Cetus after she was chained to a rock by her own father. Hey, man, she should have probably listened. No, that's the worst joke ever. Sorry.
That is the worst joke ever.
May this stormy, hazy
Bless the
double
pygmies in Africa.
IPAs. Someone's going to take that out of context. I'm going to be, like, canceled.
Yeah.
May this stormy, hazy double IPA save you from all the beasts that might be tormenting you. It comes in 8% alcohol by volume. It says, drink this beer cold. Store this can upright. It says, drink this beer to save it from being trapped inside the can forever.
Sounds like a mission.
It's good advice, I think.
I'm stepping up, ready and able to accept the challenge. I think it's pretty good, but you're right. It's a little odd.
It's a little different. I actually kind of like it. Actually,
And
the
I
more I
wonder if
drink it, the
it's-
more I'm kind of like it.
I wonder if
There's
it's
a
the
candy note. There's
the big
like,
secret hop.
There's
so.
a candy note. There's a kind of a Jolly Rancher-ish kind of note in the very back of this, or in the retro hail even.
Right, in the retro.
Which I don't think I've ever gotten that from an IPA.
No, agreed.
Ever.
Agreed.
It's interesting, but I get some mouth astringency, and I kind of feel that is almost a bitterness. And there's a little pine cone towards the end, and I feel
Yes.
that is a little bitterness.
Yeah, a little bit of resinous finish.
So I don't know. 0 IBU is confusing to me. I
if
wish we
you-
had Wiki Brian right now to explain this to me.
Yeah, I know. If you had not told me this was 0 IBUs, I would never have guessed that.
I would just say it's a funky IPA,
Right.
and it is a little funky.
It
And
is a little funky and a little thin mouthfeel, but very
I'm
drinkable.
going in for seconds. It's actually quite good.
Yeah, well, there you go. If you're going in for seconds, yeah, something's working.
You know, I mean,
This would be an interesting
no beer
brewery.
left behind.
This would be an interesting brewery to check out, and we might be able to.
I don't know how they accomplished that. We're gonna have to call them. Or something.
So I was at Specs this last week, and they've rearranged their place at the Midtown Specs on the end of the aisle where you can get singles. And they used to group them kind of by brewery. Now they're grouped by style. So they've got like lagers along the top, and then they've got sours, and they've got IPAs. And
you always know when
so-
some new manager comes in
Oh,
for
yeah.
a section, right?
Well, and so that guy was standing there, the guy that did that. And he said, anything I can help you find? Whatever. I said, no, I'm just checking it out. And I said, but I like how you've got this grouped. He goes, thank you, I did that. And then we started talking beer. And he was the one that pointed me to this IPA. He goes, if you like hazies, you got to try this one because it's 0 IBUs. And so that was
So strange.
that was how I found out about it. Because
That
I
astringency
told
kind
him
of comes across as a woody note on my
they
tongue.
had Ghost in the Machine there, and I said that's just one of the greatest IPAs like ever made. And he goes, well, if you like that, you have to try that. So he pointed me to a couple of different things, including this. So
It's pretty outrageous.
yeah. I love though getting in there and talking to someone who does really know beer.
Yes.
You know, and so yeah. Ordinarily, I'm that guy. You see somebody like standing at the beer aisle,
Struggling a
scratching their
little bit.
head, and I'm like, "Hey, what are you looking for there, buddy?" And he goes, "Oh, do you work here?" I go, "No, but I can help you."
I got this.
So, all right. I'm not as knowledgeable about cocktails, although I can make a very decent martini, dirty martini. I can make a really good vodka gimlet, and I feel like I've just about perfected the margarita. So I got those things like I'm really strong on, but I need to start adding more to my cocktail making repertoire.
Hey, margarita.
Yeah, exactly. So here's a very interesting article from Food and Wine: 9 cocktail recipes that everyone should memorize. And they're so simple, I thought we could just go through the recipe, and you can say, what do you think? The first one is a margarita. They say 1 ounce of Cointreau, 1 ounce of lime juice, 2 ounces of tequila. That's what they say to do for a margarita. Now, I do mine
4
a little
ounces
differently.
of tequila.
Right, well, that would be the whole thing. So I would do like 3 ounces of tequila, fresh squeeze 1 lime, and pour that in, whatever that quantity is. And then I'll do just a little bit of simple syrup and a little bit of a margarita mix type thing. For me, I like Nina's Natural. But it's not the same if you don't do your own lime juice. The lime juice being fresh is really
You
the
can
key.
just squeeze extra lime, and then all you have to do is add just enough simple syrup to cut the tart.
Right, and that's what I do. It's really just almost a splash.
Yeah, so
of
like
simple
if
syrup.
you put more than that, it's a little too sweet. But if you cut the tart, it's just right.
But their simple recipe: 2 ounces of tequila, 1 ounce of lime juice, and 1 ounce of Cointreau. So then a Manhattan. Do you know how to make a Manhattan?
Does it have whiskey and one
Yep.
piece of ice?
It's 2 ounces of rye whiskey, 1 ounce of Averna Amaro. I'm not familiar with Averna Amaro because I've never made it. And a dash of orange bitters.
What is
the 3
Averna Amaro?
I don't know. If only there was some
Is it like a
device that we could look it up on.
Madness.
Martini. They say 3 ounces of gin, 1 ounce of dry vermouth, and 2 dashes of orange bitters. That's their recommendation for a dry martini. I do vodka martinis, but I do them with basically a tiny bit of vermouth, and I use olives that have been soaking in vermouth, and I use mostly vodka with a little bit of a dash of olive juice.
Do you shake or do you stir?
I shake, and I started out shaking, and then I read you shouldn't do that, so I went to stirring. And then we had Chris Morris on one time. He says, if you're doing dirty martinis, it doesn't matter. You can shake all you want because it's about not, I guess, crashing up the flavors. But in dirty, you want that. So anyway, that's how I do it. The Negroni comes in next on this list. They say 1 ounce of gin, 1 ounce of sweet vermouth, and 1 ounce of Campari. And by the way, one of the things we learned from Chris when he was on is that if you are doing sweet vermouth or dry vermouth, remember it's like a wine. It needs to be refrigerated after you've opened the bottle.
It needs to be refrigerated and it needs to be reasonably fresh.
And it will eventually go bad. Yeah. That's right. That's right. How about an old fashioned? You know how to make an old fashioned?
My wife makes old fashions all the time.
See if she does it the way they suggest to you. Or if she does
she'll make simple syrup out of the cane sugar, like sugar in the raw.
Yeah.
It's so good.
So I make my own simple syrup as well. They say 2 ounces of bourbon, a splash of club soda, 1 sugar cube is how they handled the sweetness, rather than using a simple syrup, and 3 dashes of Angostura bitters.
Yeah. Don't be shy on the bitters, people.
Yeah, 3 dashes is more than in any of the drinks we've talked about.
Don't be shy on the bitters, man. Don't be afraid of it.
This, I always thought I wanted to know how to make this. And so now I do. A mint julep. They say 2 ounces of bourbon, 1/2 ounce of simple syrup, mint leaves. That's it.
Doesn't take much, huh?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna be. That may be the next thing I learn is the mint julep.
I'm gonna have to print this up as a cheat sheet and put it on my refrigerator.
And it's at foodandwine.com, so you can go and find this and print it out and use it that way. Because these are so much simpler than most recipe books that you get. For the daiquiri, they say 2 ounces of white rum, 1 ounce of lime juice, 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup, and you got yourself a daiquiri. Have you ever made a French 75? They say 2 ounces of champagne, 1.5 ounces of gin, 3/4 of an ounce of fresh lemon juice, and 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. That's a French 75.
I don't think I've ever had one.
Now, here's what they say for a gimlet, and this would be a gin gimlet. I do mine with vodka, but they say for a gimlet, 1 ounce of gin, 1 ounce of lime juice. Now, let me tell you how I do my vodka gimlets, because this is important. I do about... I know what it looks like on my measuring cup, but I don't know. I don't remember whether it's ounces or whatever. But I do 1 part of fresh squeezed lime juice, the exact same amount of simple syrup, and then about 3 parts, comparatively to that, of vodka. Put it all in the shaker over ice.
You brought that in one time and made it for us. It was fantastic.
Put it all in the shaker over ice, and then pour it into a glass in which you've already poured a dash of some kind of sparkling beverage. I use Topo Chico.
Oh, yeah.
And it gives, they're really wonderful. They're tart and sweet and just really absolutely wonderful.
At Topo Chico, if you're listening to this, Topo Chico is just a sparkling water. It's not tonic.
Right, exactly. It doesn't have a flavor to it necessarily, although I do buy the Topo Chico lime, and it works really well.
Yeah, it's quite good.
In these. The margarita is next on the list, and they have a very simple recipe. They say 2 ounces of tequila, 1 ounce of lime juice, and 1 ounce of Cointreau. In my opinion, that's too much Cointreau. But
yeah, I think so.
That's just I like a dash of it.
to taste, I think.
Yeah,
you know?
right. I like a dash of it. It definitely works. But my margaritas have gotten better since I've used a little less of that. is what my experience has been. So anyway, there's your and they have, by the way, recipes for all of these you can click through on. This is at foodandwine.com, and it's 9 cocktail recipes everyone should memorize. And so that's why they've got them down to being so simple. It's because if you memorize them this simply, and then you can, like,
you can always
zhuzh
dress
them up a little bit. Yeah, absolutely.
Jazz them up, jazz hands.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, no, I'm really proud of my vodka gimlets. I have to say, I made those for all kinds of guests and people, and they've gotten almost.
I never
unanimous.
make cocktails. I pour whiskey.
But your wife.
My
is a
wife
good cocktail
loves
maker,
making
right?
cocktails,
Yeah.
so I just leave that in her arena. And so some nights I come home and she'll make cocktails, and we go from there.
We are crawling ever closer to the segment we like to call Drinking News. That is coming up on the program. And you know what I didn't do? I didn't give you the Drinking News teaser headline. So we'll give you that at the beginning of the next segment. And then the segment after that, we'll do Drinking News. More to taste, more to talk about. It's Smoking and Toasting. We will be right back. Welcome back, my friends. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. By the way,
those things.
I just kind of polished off that last of that
IPA?
0 IBU IPA. The more I drank it, the better I liked it.
I kind of felt like that too. After the first sip,
Yeah.
it just kept getting better.
Yeah, really tasty. And that is out of Dallas, Texas, and Celestial Beerworks. Like the name. Cool name. All right, I mentioned that we were going to give you the Drinking News teaser headline. So Drinking News is going to be in the next segment, but we'll give you the teaser now. And the teaser headline is The Quandary of Questionable Intoxicated Decisions. I like the quandary and questionable. That was a nice,
like
nice
that.
alliteration there.
Sounds like the newest Dr. Seuss book.
Yeah, that's right.
Well done, sir.
Will you like it in Florida?
Yeah.
Will you like it? I don't know. I'm sorry, I didn't know where I was going with that. Oh, I like that sound. I like that sound very much. Ooh, I like that sound even better. Yes, we're going to be tasting some rum here. This is Rhum Depaz. It's a 7-year-old single traditional column rum. And my understanding is that there is, and I'm going to go and try to use that that handheld computer thing that we all can carry around, that there is a difference between rum, R-U-M, and rum,
R-H-U-M?
R-H-U-M. So,
Which one is this?
This is an R-H-U-M.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm going to look that up while we're.
What is a column?
It's that's
The
part
still
of the
that they
still.
use.
Okay.
It's a column. Single column still is a particular kind of still.
The still is usually it's a vat where you can put your liquid in, and there's some sort of heat source underneath it that's going to raise that up to a certain temperature, and then it starts to evaporate.
Right.
So you're distilling it into that, and then it generally has a column that goes straight up, and what that does is it concentrates the steam
Okay.
into a set of pipes, and then it goes back into liquid, and then pours in, and that's your distilled liquid right
Oh,
there.
wow.
So most rum is distilled from fermented sugarcane molasses. Rum with an H, R-H-U-M, is a type of rum. So all R-H-U-Ms are R-U-Ms. But rum with an H is a type of rum distilled from fresh pressed sugarcane juice. So it's not from the molasses. It's from the actual fresh pressed sugarcane juice. So rum without the H might present a sweeter profile, while rum with the H is often described as funky, earthy, or vegetal.
So all rums are are rums.
Right,
But not all rums are-
all rums with an H are rums without the H as
Yeah.
well. So, but not vice versa.
Not vice versa.
So, this one has got a very interesting nose. On the
The
nose,
Go ahead.
I was going to say the nose is almost more like a whiskey than a rum.
The nose is
Yeah.
really interesting because you can smell, but you can smell the sugar. You can smell the sweet, and it doesn't smell
Yeah.
like a brown sugar. It doesn't smell like a
Right, it doesn't have
It
that.
doesn't have that caramely kind of smell.
Well, and that makes sense because
sugar.
this is not distilled from fermented sugarcane molasses.
Right, it doesn't have
So
that
you're
raw
not getting that
sugarcane thing
molasses
that you get.
vibe. Yeah. This is just from
it
fresh
smells-
pressed sugarcane juice.
There's almost on the nose has a gingerbread kind of nose to it. It's a little almost a bubble gum.
Yes, which gets back to what I was saying about it.
There's a little vanilla.
Presenting on the nose more like a whiskey or a bourbon.
Really does.
Because of that bubblegummy flavor that you get there.
Wow.
And then the finish,
it
very
drinks
much like a whiskey.
It drinks like the mouthfeel on this, and overall drinks very much like a whiskey.
Yeah.
There's a mineral water quality to it. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. This is
Now,
delightful
I really like
in
this.
its own strange way.
Yeah, I really like this, but I almost don't feel like it's a rum.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It really doesn't feel like a rum, but it really is good.
If you were to pour
I
this
like
for me
it.
and go, "This is a new whiskey," I go, "Oh, I really like this."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is a good whiskey. So I really do like it.
This
but
would be
it
a
doesn't-
really strange whiskey if you ask me. However, I can get where you're. I'm picking up what you're
Yeah.
laying down. I'm smelling what you're stepping in. That's what I'm trying to say.
You know what it reminds me of a little bit? Remember is it a Glenmorangie? No, what's the one with the deer on it?
That's the Dalmore.
No, I'm sorry. The one with the triangular shaped
Oh,
bottles.
that's Glenfiddich.
Glenfiddich. There's a Glenfiddich that's finished in IPA casks.
Yeah.
And this reminds me of that.
I can see that. Their IPA cast
Yeah.
was really nice.
Yeah,
by the
I
way.
love that. Yeah, in fact, I had a bottle of that I polished off a long time ago. I've never replaced it. I really need to replace that bottle because that's a good whiskey.
That's so good. Speaking of the IPA cask, the IPA cask Jameson's is pretty nice too.
We haven't had that on the show, have we?
I don't think so. This is delicious.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is one of those things as well that the more I drink it, the more I like it. Like the first taste is confusing. It's like when you're expecting Coca-Cola and it's Sprite.
Right.
You know, it's not that it's bad. It's just not what you're expecting at all.
Not what your taster
and it's
was
a little
set for.
disorienting. But once you orient your flavonoids,
Well, it definitely doesn't have that, hints of vanilla and oak that you get with some of my favorite rums.
Yeah.
But I
Oh,
always
there's-
look at this as a completely different beverage.
there's definitely
Really
oak on the
different.
aftertaste. I think it's
Right.
it's got a very astringent, very oaky aftertaste, but it's not up front, and the vanilla's not right up front either.
Right. It does have some vanilla. It's got a little more heat to it than on the finish than
It
some of the
really
rums
does
I'm used
have
to.
almost a malty profile, though.
Yeah, that's why I keep going
There's
back
almost
to the
a
whiskey thing.
chocolatiness to this that I would never expect from a rum. But then it has kind of that rum spice, that kind of
It's got the funkiness of a rum, which is what would make it a weird whiskey, right?
There's a little maple syrup in this too. Have you noticed that?
A little bit, but see, I'm used to that being a bigger part of rum, and particularly my favorite rums.
I didn't notice that until just now, like after sipping it a bunch of times.
Well, we may have to do a little more
Some more
sipping,
sipping?
and see if anything else opens up
We're
to
gonna
us.
have
What do
to
you
do
think?
a little further research.
Yeah, absolutely. We will work on that. So again, rum with an H, which is also called rum agricole, Agricole. It's a type of rum distilled from fresh pressed sugarcane juice. So that's what this is. Rather than being distilled from fermented sugarcane molasses, it's distilled from fresh pressed sugarcane juice.
Interesting.
I
I didn't know that there was a distinction between the two. I thought they were just two different languages of the same word,
Right. Oh, I
like
thought so, too.
Ron and rum as
Like
well.
rum and rum, yeah, exactly. This is this is very interesting. I won't put this on my list of favorite rums, but I really like it. And
It's
and
fun.
it's fun, and it almost feels like it's its own beverage.
I
Like
bet
it's not
if
a
you
rum.
made an old fashioned out of this, it would be outrageously
I
good.
think so. I do. I think really any whiskey cocktail
right.
would stand up with this very well.
I think if you treated this like a whiskey and a cocktail, you could make some really interesting things, because it's like a whiskey adjacent almost. It's
No,
it's so interesting.
It totally is. And, I think we've even brought on the show, it's been a while, but the guys at Drew Estate have a beverage company. and they have a half rum, half whiskey beverage. We've had it on the show before. It's been a long time. This, I think, would be more in that category.
Long aged in oak casks, very old rum develops flavors of vanilla, dry roasted fruit, and tobacco. The tobacco I didn't mention, but I get that. The attack on the palate is clean, powerful, and fresh, with the finish adding a more peppery touch.
I'm glad you found something in English.
A great rum to be savored. Imported by BCI 551 Ranchero Barrel Drive, Houston, Texas.
Interesting. Well,
So imported here in Houston, but
fascinating.
I like this a lot. I think it's actually
Yeah.
pretty fantastic and interesting.
It definitely is different. Like, this is not your typical rum,
No,
for
not
sure.
at all.
All right, I'm digging it. Drinking News is next, and we still have yet to taste a what I think sounds like a fascinating Imperial Stout. I'm sorry, not Imperial Stout, but a barrel-aged stout called Our Darkest Days. Plus, still, we will tell you about the 9 outstanding cigars you should be smoking right now. And we'll be back. Digging this rum. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And just one more thing to say about this rum. It almost seems like it's a beverage in a class by itself. Like it doesn't seem to fit into the rum category, really.
Yeah,
I realize that's what it is.
It's a little bit outlier. It's good, though. I like it.
But then that leaves it out of any other category,
Right,
too.
exactly. And so that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is it's something very interesting. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the part of the program that has somehow and inexplicably become the most popular segment on our show. It's a segment where we bring you stories that are often, but not always, about drinking, but that are always best enjoyed if you've been drinking. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Drinking News.
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Ooh.
That was fancy.
A new twist.
Yeah.
Flourish, if you will.
I love that. Oh, before we begin today's Drinking News ridiculousness, an important update on another story we've previously reported here. You may remember the story of one Joey Henney of Jonestown, Pennsylvania, who was turned away as he tried to enter the Philadelphia Phillies ballpark for a baseball game with his emotional support animal, a gator. Named
Wally?
Wally.
Yes.
As in Wally Gator.
Well, you get
Now, listen, even if you wouldn't be so thrilled to wind up sitting next to Henny and Wally to watch the Phillies and the Pirates play, you still have to kind of feel for this Pennsylvania man, because now major news sources are reporting that Wally is missing.
No.
According to the Wally Gator Facebook page, which has to be fairly high on the list of sentences you never thought you'd hear yourself say. According to the Wally Gator Facebook page, Henny and Wally were visiting friends in Brunswick, Georgia, when someone took the gator from his pen in the early morning hours of April 21st.
They had to take the gator to the vet?
Wally was apparently stolen by, quoting the report, some jerk who likes to drop alligators off into people's yards and terrorize them.
Florida. Oh, sorry, what?
Yeah. Once discovered, the Department of Natural Resources was notified, and they called a trapper who came and got Wally and dropped him off in a swamp with about 20 other alligators that same day.
A gator carried it into the swamp.
Not an exact match, but I've been looking for another reason to use that.
Wally, go home.
According to
Unless
the
he was
trapper,
a Texas gator, but
yeah, according to the trapper, the swamp is very large, and the chances of finding Wally are slim to none.
Did he still have his harness on? I saw a recent picture of him in
Yeah.
the news, and he had a harness as he was hugging whoever
Well,
it was.
this
that was
is
holding
Wally,
him.
after all, and so Henny and a number of his friends reportedly head to the swamp each day to continue the search. Godspeed, sir. May you and Wally be reunited soon.
That's right.
And now to the story at hand. Anyone who has ever been intoxicated knows that this is a time when you are very likely, perhaps even most likely, to make what we'll just call less than advantageous decisions.
have you actually been intoxicated before?
No, never me.
Okay.
Okay. But I have friends that have been intoxicated. I've heard. We've all heard of
Like
the
if
people.
you had a friend that like say was intoxicated and said something. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm asking for a friend.
At the Whiskey Social.
We've all heard of the people who get really drunk and then go on Amazon or Etsy and order really ridiculous items, only to open them up when they arrive and wonder, why in the hell did I buy a Chia Pet or a cat butt tissue dispenser? Yes, by the way, there really is such a thing. Look it up.
No.
I'm not sure what to say about that.
But our story today involves a Kentucky man.
What?
A Kentucky man.
Perfect.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Kentucky.
A
man.
Kentucky
I'm
man.
sorry. I was gonna do flow.
Yeah, yeah.
But you totally threw me.
Our story today involves a Kentucky man who made a pretty serious error while he was inebriated that should serve as a warning for us all. According to the Clay County Sheriff's Office, 43-year-old Daniel Ratcliffe Ratliff. Don't want to get that wrong.
I was going to say, isn't that James
43-year-old
Bond?
Daniel Ratliff of Kentucky was found passed out behind the wheel of his car last week in the parking lot of a video store on U.S. Route 421 in Manchester, which is about 100 miles south of Lexington.
Hold on. I want to unpackage something here.
Okay.
Please, yes, do.
This is 2024.
Yeah.
If you're in the parking lot of a video store,
Thank you.
it's not a Blockbuster.
Well, funny you should mention that, because as I wrote in my story here, this, of course, made me wonder if he was actually in the parking lot of the last remaining Blockbuster video in the world.
I think that's
But
in Arizona, though.
I checked, and that store is actually located in Bend, Oregon.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm guessing that the video store in question likely rented items of a more adult nature.
Dubious nature.
In any case, when police arrived at the scene and knocked on his window and asked the Kentucky man for his ID, he was apparently so wasted that he shuffled around in his car for a few moments, and then instead of producing his driver's license, he instead wound up handing the officers a baggie of crystal meth, pills, and a large sum of U.S. currency. Yeah, that ought to work.
Nice. That was nice.
Police confirmed that he was in possession of 9 grams of meth, several fentanyl pills, and $3,034 in cash.
That's not even what they asked for, bro.
Ratliff was
your
arrested.
ID?
He was arrested on charges of. We did the story about the guy who.
Maybe meth is part of his identity.
We did the story about the guy who went through the Taco Bell drive-through, and then police, thought he was, driving suspiciously when he pulled out of the parking lot. So they pulled him over and asked for his ID, and he gave them the taco. Yeah. This is even worse.
Maybe
Gave
he's
them the meth.
identifying as
maybe.
illicit drugs.
Ratliff was arrested on charges of trafficking in a controlled substance and public intoxication and was taken to the Clay County Detention Center. Now, it seems clear that you'd have...
Where's Clay County?
It's in Kentucky. it seems clear you'd have to be pretty messed up to make that kind of mistake in front of the officer. But I seriously doubt that any of us here or any of you listening will likely ever make such a huge blunder and find yourself as the topic of a story on Drinking News.
If you do, by the way, send us a transcript.
Hang on, I got my ID, but hold my meth while I look for it.
Hold my meth and watch this. But the drunken online shopping that I mentioned, well, that's actually a thing. And even if none of you guys are ever going to, like, hand the officer a baggie of meth, online shopping, that's real. I know several people who've done this.
Oh, yes.
And while it won't land you in jail, it can be a pretty big hassle to have to return the items that you bought. And in some cases, you may not even be able to. And then you're stuck with a cat butthole tissue dispenser until at least the next white elephant gift exchange you're invited to, which, by the way, is absolutely the best way to get rid of a cat butthole tissue dispenser.
I feel like I know what we're having at the Christmas party this year for one of the giveaways.
You know,
I already told my wife who buys those. I was like, you got to get one of these for this year. So that's
at our
funny.
Christmas party this last year, the gift du jour that everyone wanted, and I had in my hot little hands until it was stolen, was the People of Walmart coloring book.
Yes, it was wildly popular.
Amazing.
Wildly, people were trading all kinds of really decent gifts for that. It was pretty funny. But anyway, just in case you're prone to do a little drunken shopping, here at Drinking News, we'd like to help. So I have prepared for you, despite many warnings from mental health specialists, a list of real items available on Amazon that you might want to avoid if you're doing a little three-sheet shopping, or what the Brits called purchasing while pissed, because pissed means drunk over there for reasons that I still don't completely understand.
If you're in England and you get totally pissed and blow a fag, that's a very different thing.
100% correct. None of that violates any FCC rules, by the way.
We're just teaching languages.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, these are the top 5
Embracing cultures.
real Amazon items to avoid purchasing when you're drunk. Top 5. Actually, only 4 of them were real.
Do we need music for this?
I made one of them up. See if you can guess which one. Sure, yeah. 4 of these are real. I made one up. See if you can guess which one. The top 5 real Amazon items to avoid ordering when you're drunk. Number 5, glow-in-the-dark toilet paper. Number 4, a Spam can-looking container of unicorn meat, which is described as an excellent source of sparkles. Number 3.
Wait a second.
What, they put glitter in it?
Interesting to look at before you flush.
Yes, exactly. Number 3, bacon bandages. Band-aids that look like a strip of bacon, because nothing makes your cut feel better than being reminded of your favorite breakfast meat.
I've actually seen those. Yeah, I've actually seen those.
Number 2, a potty putter, so you can practice golf while sitting on the toilet. And the number 1 thing to avoid ordering on Amazon when you're drunk, number 1, a Jared Leto package enhancer, which men can slip into their pants to make it appear that they've been blessed by the gods of the dong.
The gods of the dong.
By the way, the one I made up.
Battery go on this thing.
The one I made up. You want to guess?
Jared Leto.
You are correct. The one I made up was the Jared Leto package enhancer. That doesn't actually exist on Amazon, but Leto's penis was once described by actress Alexis Arquette as, and I'm quoting here, not only massive, it's like a Praetorian Guard's helmet, end quote. Reporting live from Kentucky, where Jared Leto himself once famously said, "Stand back, I don't know how big this thing gets." My name is Cruz, and that is your
Drinking news. Oh, I got the wrong key. Drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
A gator carried it into the swamp.
Cheers, y'all.
It was between that and the glow-in-the-dark toilet paper, but I figured that technology probably had given
Believe
us
it or
that
not, there
today.
actually is on Amazon. Glow-in-the-dark toilet
Also,
paper.
sparkly poops, you know?
Yeah, well, that's the unicorn.
It was too detailed. That one you had too much of a description on for it to be fake. I feel like that was real.
I did not
beer
know.
is delicious.
I did not know that Jared Leto, by the way, was part of the what they call the D list, which is the list of Hollywood celebrities that have large.
Not
D.
not the Kathy. What's her name? Not the Kathy Griffin D
Yeah,
list.
no,
Yeah.
that's different.
This is
That's
different.
Yeah. So, Ian, we are sampling here from Incendiary
Milton Berle.
Brewing Company. So I've heard. He liked to dress up as a woman, but apparently he had it happening in the manly department. This is Incendiary Brewing Company's Our Darkest Days. It's a barrel-aged stout. What can you tell us about this, Ian?
Not much, actually, because this whole silver label here that they stuck on
Yeah.
that tells you everything about the beer is almost completely rubbed off. Look, just rubbing one finger over it erases almost everything.
Well, that's a shame because
It says
this
rye
beer is
bourbon, rum,
delicious.
maple bourbon, sherry, apple brandy, wine, port. I don't know what that means.
I think that's the different casks that it was perhaps rested in.
Something water buffalo.
Oh, the
Something-
Flintstones?
I was going to say that's a Fred and Barney reference, right?
So we got no information because that whole label, look, that whole label is completely wiped out.
Well, it's a fascinatingly good beer, though.
Beautiful label.
Okay. So something water, Buffalo Trace barrels.
There you go.
Nah, not getting much. Cask condition.
So you solved the Buffalo mystery, so that's
Yes,
good. Well, I got to tell you, Ian, this is delightfully good.
It's pretty damn
I get
delicious.
notes of raspberries and marshmallows and all kinds of different black
Raspberry,
cherry.
good call. Definitely. Chocolate all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it definitely like marshmallow, like when you melt the marshmallows in the hot chocolate, like the hot chocolate's super hot, you drop a marshmallow into it and it becomes this kind of like just goo, but
Right.
it's so delicious.
There's a ton of like raisin. Mm-hmm. Not quite date, but ton of like raisin kind of
Yes,
pulpy kind of
yes.
stuff going on.
I'm almost
the
expecting them
mouthfeel
to-
is insane on this.
I'm almost expecting the raisins to start singing and dancing. Remember that back in the 80s?
The California
Singing
raisins.
and
look how
dancing raisins.
much it
That's
sticks
right.
to the glass. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And this is a plastic cup. It would stick to a glass even more if you think about it.
That's ridiculously good.
Yeah, I'm kind of digging that. All right. Wow. Boy, we've had some good stuff today,
Yes, we have.
including our beverage of mystery, by the way. Thank you, Klaus. We are going to take a break, and we will be right back.
You're breaking
we
my heart, Klaus.
Still have to tell you about the 9 outstanding cigars you should be smoking right now.
Oh my gosh.
We'll get
Have
to
you
that.
tried the rum after this?
No, because my rum cup is empty. Perhaps you can help in this area. And while he does that, we'll take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back at Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. I want to apologize for
And
us.
this barrel-aged stout.
Yeah, I want to apologize for us not being able to tell you more about this barrel-aged stout from Incendiary Brewing, which is called Our Darkest Days. But here's what we can tell you that is important. If you find this, freaking buy it because
It's so good.
wonderful. I'm pouring Ian more now as
Please.
we speak. It's that is just a wonderful, wonderful Imperial Stout. Wow is all I have to say.
So going from the Imperial Stout, by the way, to the back to the rum, it turns the rum into like straight tobacco,
Yeah, you
and
really
in the
do
best
get that.
possible way. Like you get that tobacco note. It is straight
Reminds
tobacco
me of
note.
like this cigar malt from the Dalmore.
Yes.
Yeah, it's got that kind of an overtone to it. Very good. I want to give you this list real quick because we promised we would, and here we are in the last segment. We haven't done it yet, so that shows you my genius of planning. Cigar Aficionado recently released a list of 9 outstanding cigars you should be smoking right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
At the
And
same
the first one, good luck finding it, but it's a Cuban. It's a Cuban Bolivar, the Bellicoso Fino. It scored 94 on their scoring, and in euros or in pounds, whether it's 35 $1.10. So it's not a cheap cigar.
Wow.
But it is, of course, not available in the U.S. legally. Also on the list, La Aroma de Cuba Pasión Box Press Torpedo scored 94 points. It's $12.26 cigar. Very nice. In the next slot here, scoring 94 points, My Father the Judge Robusto.
The Judge is
The
so
Judge is good. Yeah, it really
All
is.
of My Father stuff. Come on, really.
The next one, the Padron 1964 Anniversary Series Hermoso, a $15.20 very short cigar, but it was the number 3 cigar of 2020, and 4 years later, they say, still delivers an elegant, sophisticated smoke. The Casa Cuba Doble Cuatro. This is not a Cuban cigar. It scored at 93 points, and it's a small Robusto, and it's $11.10. Carlos Fuente Sr. created that brand.
All right, pause here. Our Darkest Days barrel-aged stout blend of our stout,
Yeah.
aged in Weller, Buffalo Trace, and Jim Beam
Okay.
barrels.
Oh.
Cacao.
Jim
See,
Beam
like, so
barrels.
I pulled up a label that someone had, and it's just not quite as.
It's hard to read too, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Not quite as bad.
I mean, it's a fancy little label, too.
Madagascar vanilla beans, sweet chocolate, and coming in at 15%.
Wow.
That's a big beer.
Yeah, and it's big and delicious, is what it is.
Yeah, it's pretty
That is just
amazing.
wonderful. Rounding out our list, the Hoyo de Monterrey La Hoyo de San Juan. It's a Cuban cigar, scored a 93, sells for 44.5 pounds.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Juan Lopez, Selection number 1, also a Cuban. Not a
Don't know
pretty
that.
cigar. It looks very rustic. It scored 93, and it is 29.5 pounds to purchase that one. And then the Monte Cristo 1935 Anniversary Edición Diamante number 2, 93 points, $24.78 retail. Originally a prototype blend by Rafael
Have
Nodal
had that, and
and some guy named AJ Fernandez.
it is outrageously good.
And then finally, rounding out the list, the Rocky Patel 15th Anniversary Torpedo. It's a $14.10 cigar, and it was released in 2010 to commemorate 15 years in the business. At the time, the line was novel for Rocky as it was made in Nicaragua, where his cigars were previously Honduran. So this oily torpedo, they say, delivers a full-bodied experience with a core of fresh tobacco accented by earth and honey. So there you go. There's your list of the 9 outstanding cigars you should be smoking right now.
Right now.
Based on Cigar Aficionado's list. And again, I don't just blindly trust Cigar Aficionado, but I will say their cigar reviews, generally, if they like something, it's generally pretty good.
True,
you know?
true. I'm going to toss in on that a Superfly
Yeah.
by Oscar Valdez. I'll toss in Siri R. Maduro by Aroma de Cuba.
Yeah.
I will toss in what's the one I had today? That
Midnight Twist.
the Midnight Twist
Yeah.
by
I just think of that
Romeo and
because
Julieta.
it sounds like something that Chubby Checker would have
Yeah,
done,
yeah.
like late
Come
at
on,
night.
baby, let's do the Midnight
Yeah,
Twist.
that's right.
Well, I would add the
Not
Raymond,
as good as Twist Again. That song was amazing.
like we did last summer.
Oh wait, that was so bad.
Like we did last summer, baby. Woo! Ha-ha, you know what I mean.
Part 2.
The cigar that I had, the Penn Standard, that's a great cigar, and definitely cheaper than anything on that Cigar Aficionado.
What's funny
list.
about that Penn Standard is it rides that line between being a lawnmower and a regular like go-to cigar.
Right.
It's cheap enough to be considered almost a lawnmower, but it's a complex enough cigar and well constructed enough.
I don't have any lawnmowers I can think of off the top of my head, lawnmower cigars that are that complex.
Right.
You know, so that tells you something right there.
Heck yeah.
Wow, this has been a fun show. I really have enjoyed walking through these lists and stuff. We have a couple of interesting things coming up, including next week. Why don't you tell us a little bit about next week's show?
Next week we're going to have Dan Crowell. Now Dan Crowell will be phoning it in,
It'll be on Zoom.
Not really. We'll be doing Zoom thing with Dan Crowell.
But I
Dan
love
Crowell,
that guy. He's so much fun.
If you've never seen Dan Crowell, like, he is so intense and beautiful when he's tasting whiskey.
The way he describes the flavors and
yes.
what he's getting at, it's like it's something inspiring.
Yes,
I think,
it is. It is, and it's so fun to watch him just talk about it. He's so passionate about it.
I remember we had him in the studio once, and he was talking about the whiskey, and I remember he kind of looked upward and just had this expression on his face as if he were communing with the gods at that moment.
Yes, there was actually a sunbeam coming through here.
Yeah.
And there's no skylight.
Right.
Right? Like, that
Exactly.
guy, no, he's so good at this. Like, and I reached out to him, and I was like, hey, man, we got to do this. We put it on schedule. And he sent whiskey. Mm-hmm. We have whiskey to try. We have the whiskey to go with that he wants us to try. And
Now, he sent this whiskey to you?
yeah, well, so there's a little bit left.
Do we still have any whiskey to try on the show?
Wait till you see what we have to try from Glenmorangie. It's going to be amazing. It's beautiful.
Glenmorangie is so good anyway.
Yeah. And he didn't even bother with the stuff like the La Santa. If you don't have a Glen, if you're looking for a great
By the way, I
scotch
have
that you can impress friends and influence people with,
Yeah.
La Santa. It's not even very expensive.
My attorney gave
It's-
me a bottle of La Santa for
it's
Christmas.
$50 to $60
so-
most places you buy
it's sitting there
It's
beckoning to me. Yeah.
outrageous.
Yeah.
The Glenmorangie 10 is so good. Go buy a Glenmorangie 10 and go buy a Perdomo 10th anniversary
Yeah.
cigar and watch how they form like Voltron. They're unbelievable
love
together. Glenmorangie is just great whiskey no matter what you do. And there's a bunch of different things that they do it. But anyway, I'm so excited about having Dan Crowell on next week.
Yeah,
we haven't seen him in a couple years now.
It's been a little while since we've
Yeah.
had him on the show, but yeah, he is so much fun to have on, and the passion he has for tasting whiskey
Yes.
is just you'll love him. You'll absolutely love him. If you haven't seen him on our show before, you will absolutely love Dan Crowell. So
I'm excited.
That's something to look forward to, and we got a few other interesting things in the hopper too. I'm going to be on the road across Memorial Day weekend, and I will be visiting and reporting from a craft brewery in San Antonio, Texas.
Sweet.
So yeah, I'll bring that report back. So that'll be exciting. So yeah, so that we got some good guests kind of lining up for the remainder of the summer, and I think it's going to be a good one here on Smoking and Toasting. Want to give a shout out to Jim Jones. Jim Jones is the guy who is now representing getting our show placed in more broadcast stations around the country, and he is a good guy. We know him and we love him, unlike the people we were affiliated with before, who we did not know and definitely did not come to love. But you know, that's all in the past, and Jim Jones is taking us over now. And so if you have if you live someplace you like to get this on the radio in your market, call your favorite local news talk or talk radio station and let them know, I want my S&T, just like the old I want my AMP. S&T.
I want my S&T.
There you go.
Move
That's-
over, Sting.
That's actually a fairly decent Sting impression there.
Now I just need to sing like a whole bunch of lines where you can't understand all the words that I sing.
Right.
You only understand like the first two words.
Exactly. Yeah.
I wanna.
You know, I saw Sting in concert back around the time that he released his first solo album.
The
And
Blue Turtles one.
yeah,
or the
Dream of the Blue Turtles.
Dream of
yeah.
the Blue Tur- yeah.
And I have to say, I was impressed by how good of a singer he was. Like, it had never occurred to me in listening to his records, like, oh yeah, he's a great vocalist, right? I mean, I didn't think he was a bad vocalist,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you just never went, wow, what a voice.
Yeah.
In concert, in that auditorium,
He's
you
that
were
good.
like, wow, that voice, that's amazing.
Some people are captivating live, man.
yeah.
Lyle Lovett. If you've ever watched Lyle Lovett live,
Yeah, he's amazing.
like you can listen to him on the records and go, wow, this guy's great. When you see him live, it's captivating. I don't know what he has. He just has that thing.
The
you know?
band out of Austin, Texas called Blue October.
Oh,
They're-
yeah.
They're
Oh, yeah.
good on record. They're amazing
Out of Houston,
live.
by the way.
Yeah, originally out of Houston. Yeah, they're in Austin now.
Nice.
but they're good on record. They're amazing live. And there's some other bands you could think of that are like that. You know, one of the coolest live shows I ever saw was Rush back in the day. 3 guys on stage. I'm like, how are they making that much sound?
Yeah.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
Geddy Lee is just doing his thing. Oh man, what a great
I
live
saw
show
him the
that
first time on the Show Don't Tell tour.
Yeah.
And during one of the songs, he's singing and he's hammering on the bass part with his left hand. And he's playing keys with the right hand, and he has synths going on with the foot. I'm like, it made me want to smash my guitar. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, and why am I even trying to do this stuff when there's people that can do it that well?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for the show. We'll be back for another one, of course, next week. And thank you to all of the amazing breweries and distilleries that brought us today's samples. Not that they gave them to us, we bought them, but I'm still thanking them because they were that good.
Well, that's okay, because when we buy them, we can say, hey, this sucks, or it's great.
That's right. And smoking and toasting, as we have pointed out before, obviously and very seriously affecting sales. Thank you, everybody, for being on the program. Thanks, Terry. Thanks to Adam and Sky. And thanks to you for listening. This has been Smoking and Toasting. And until we meet again, my friends, cheers y'all.